Hi! So I'm just gonna jump straight into this video and ignore the fact that I haven't uploaded on the channel for 2 years. Honestly, just because of my poor management skills. Like, threw myself into work, like studying. I just finished my first term at McGill. So that is an English university in Montreal in Canada. Meaning that it's really fucking cold right now. So a U1 student at McGill, but it's still my first year. I've completed my first term. I thought I'd just explain a bit how McGill works first, why I'm in U1 and not in the freshman year, and then go into things I've actually learned during this first term. Really want to keep in mind for the upcoming terms. Because I feel like the first term I kind of let myself like experience and just try kind of whatever I wanted to try. But I realized it ended up being sort of disorganized and not very like put together. And I know a lot of people that I know are like getting into university now or like next year or like second term and shit like that. So I just thought this would be like a good reminder for everyone. Since I finished my French baccalaureate, I skipped basically U0, which is the freshman year of university. I still got to do orientation and stuff. It was really cool because Fresh was amazing. So if you skip U0, you go directly U1, you have to like declare what you want to study before the end of the first term. So that's what I did. So I went in and I decided to major in political science, which was something I had not done before. And I just decided like, yeah, sure, why not? Well, not why not. I genuinely wanted to try it out. And I decided to minor in communications. Now I've switched my minor and I'm double minoring, which is more work, but that's for another time. I took 4 instead of 5 classes last term, which meant that 3 of them were poli-sci and one was communications. So I kind of want to go through everything that I learned during that first term that I think could be useful for people going into the second term, like going into university first of all, but also kind of like still at the beginning and kind of confused, because I know that I was really confused. And so I'm kind of hoping that by doing this, it'll help some people not be like I was first term. Making this video might seem like, oh, I had all my shit together first term, but that's absolutely not true. I passed with a 2.92 GPA, which isn't great, but it was again because of like poor management purely. So I'm kind of hoping by doing this, it'll help some people kind of avoid those like first term mistakes that really like you could do without. So I'm going to be talking about first relationships, then studying, and then going out, and then kind of like this general reminder that really like applies to everyone basically. So first of all, for relationships, I was gonna say, I feel like a lot of people going into university kind of have in mind like, oh, I don't want to be in a relationship my first year or like my first term, because like it's true, you get to like go out often, you get to actually like make new friends and experience stuff, and sometimes that's hard when you're in a relationship, you know, because it's like, oh, you can't like hook up with whoever you want, or like you have to spend time with them and maybe they don't like the same thing. I personally spent my first term in a relationship, literally, like before I started got into a relationship. And now, well, that's another time. It kind of depends on the person, on whether you want to be in a relationship. Since I was with that person, I didn't really feel the need or really want to be like, oh, I want to go out and like meet someone and like hook up. But basically, I'm not the type of person who actually likes to hook up. I like to actually like make a connection with people usually. So that's why for me, being in like a stable-ish relationship was kind of better, because it kind of like allowed me to not worry about that. So if you're someone who actually likes to like go out often and like just kind of like be completely free, as I would say, because I don't think that a relationship should be constraining, but I mean, I know for some people it just is. So if that's the case for you and you're like, ooh, I don't know if I can like maintain that relationship because it takes time and effort, then I'd probably say it's a good idea to not be in a relationship. But at least for me, it was like, I have all that shit going on at school, but this was like a stable thing that I had, so I didn't have to worry about that. So it's kind of like, it was nice. If you do decide to get into a relationship, one thing I really want to put emphasis on is to, even though you're still in the relationship, do whatever you want to do and not let the other person completely steamroll you and like just not do stuff because the other person doesn't want to. Because honestly, that's a shame for you, and that kind of happened to me at times where I was like, ooh, let's do this, and because the other person didn't want to, I just wouldn't, and I was like, oh, I'm not gonna go by myself. But do stuff by yourself, like 100%. It's literally the most, I would say, rewarding thing that I've done this year, is literally just do stuff by myself that no one else wanted to do with me. This really applies to in a relationship. As much as you have to be in the relationship, it's healthy to have your own personal life, and that includes like doing whatever you want to do even if the other person doesn't want to. Now another thing I want to talk about is that was like romantic relationships, but I want to go into platonic ones, so everything concerning friends. So first of all, I can honestly say everyone at university is trying to make friends with people, especially like first term, first year. Literally you just want to meet people and like make friends. Like if I could honestly give like one piece of advice to keep in mind, is to do whatever you want in a healthy manner, in a safe manner, meaning that if you like see someone in class and you're like, oh shit, and like you're sitting next to them, sorry, and you're like, oh, I want to like speak to them, I want to become friends, fucking do it. Like I've done that a lot of times where I'm just sitting there in class and I'm like, hey, I really want to talk to this person, and so I just turn around and do it. And that's something I would never do before university, but as I said, everyone here wants to make friends. So like really just go for it. And especially I think first year it's good to have a kind of wide spectrum of friends, as in like not just ones in your major or in your classes, but also outside. If this specific person doesn't want to do an activity with you, then you have like someone else who's interested in that and who wants to. It's just nice to be able to like hang out with different people at different times for different things. It just works. And you know, as I said, in university everyone wants to be friends. Now if you're in a residence, so that's like housing on campus or like near campus, then it's a lot easier. Honestly, I'm not in one, I'm off res. If you're in a residence, that makes it a lot easier because like you have roommates, your floor mates, so people who live on the floor. No one's gonna mind if like first week or second week you literally just knock on the door, you're like, hey, I'm your neighbor. Everyone's just trying to make friends, because like you're all alone here as well. Like it's not just you who's all alone, everyone's all alone. So I think, you know, it's nice to have a lot of friends. Now I'm gonna pass on to studying. Now, this was not something that I managed very well during my first term, simply because I was like, oh, new city, new everything, and I kind of like, I'm not gonna say I went out, but I just kind of dedicated my time to other things. And now I wish I had kind of just focused more on that. First of all, honestly, 1 grade is not the end of the world. So if you get like 1C, let's say, or like a B, or like whatever you consider like a average or like below average grade, first of all, you have on the syllabus how much that grade is worth in your final grade for the class, because usually you have like essays and research papers or midterm final. Like the format like that changes, and it's the same thing for other classes where it's like maybe you'll have a midterm or a quiz or like stuff like that, you know. And so the syllabus always tells you what percentage of your final grade that is worth. I always find that helpful because it kind of helps me not completely freak out when I get like a C in something, because that way it's just like it's not that big a deal. And I believe, at least, I don't know if this is a McGill thing or if it's just a university thing, because someone told me this, but I haven't researched it myself. I believe the average GPA for the first term of university is like 2.7 or something like that on 4. But as I said, like getting 1C or 1B really is not the end of the world. And I mean, there's so many things going on in university. It's not fair to yourself to really concentrate on one specific grade and how badly you did. I mean, you know where to like catch it up later. Like, you know, either the next exam or the next midterm or like the final, you're gonna have to get a better grade, you know. But it is really important to keep track of everything going on, meaning like what you have to do, what readings you have, if it's like a thing where you have to read, which is honestly I think most topics. I can't think of one where you wouldn't have to, except maybe like comp sci and math, like kind of things that aren't practice. But if it's something like that involves any sort of theory, you're gonna have to read. And that was kind of my downfall last term, where I basically did not do a majority of my readings, and that kind of resulted in classes where like it's very reading heavy and the exams are actually on the readings and the lectures as well. You kind of just end up not knowing it well and just getting shit grades, honestly. I mean, in my introduction to the political theory class last term, I got a C+. And like, don't get me wrong, I was kind of okay with that because I knew it was a hard class and I knew I could have done better. But I wish I had done better. I wish I had really pushed myself and been like, we're doing this reading today. Like, I wish I had actually done that. And I think that's really something that like the person going into university should keep in mind. Like, as much as you need to balance everything, going out, friends, studying, and like just being in university, it's important to remember that you're actually there to study as well. And this does count for your future. As I said, like the GPA system is kind of something you can pick up, especially like in later years. But just keep in mind that like it is still important to study and actually get a degree. And so for that you have to like actually be organized and like manage your time well, which is something I literally had trouble doing, and it showed, you know, in my finals grades. After that, I also want to say there are teaching assistants, so for each class I believe, which are upper year students or people who are like doing their degree, their like graduate degree or some shit, like just doing high, like people who've already passed that class basically, be teaching assistants. And that's where they're the people who hold the conferences, which you have weekly, which is kind of like in little groups going over the material. So those teaching assistants, if you have them, are really there to help. Like honestly, like they're literally their only job, not their only job, but like they're there to help you. So if you really need help going over something, or like you don't understand and you want to go over it, send them an email or go to office hours or something like that. Office hours basically saved my life last term, because for communications or for political theory or for international politics, which is another course I took, you can literally just go to either the professor's office hours or the TA's office hours, because usually they hold them, and just be like, hey, I didn't really understand this. It's usually better to go with specific questions. Oh, I didn't understand like this exact aspect, or like could you kind of re-explain it? And honestly, they're more than happy to help. That's what office hours are for. So especially like those first weeks, I would say, go to office hours. Go meet your professors. Go, like, if you have genuine questions, just go and be like, hello, introduce yourself, and be like, this is me. I was really nervous when I went to my first one. I was just like, I went with a friend, thank God, but I was so nervous, and I kind of just stood there and started like, I blurted out my question, and the professor stopped me and was like, okay, calm down, take a breath, and like introduce yourself first. And honestly, as I said, they're there to help. They are there to help. They want to help, you know? Last thing last-ish is about the whole going out. So I personally really enjoy going out, like on nights out, or like, you know, McGill has a lot of events even during the week, and I find those really fun to go to. Catch me at BDA this Thursday, by the way. Like, as I said, and most universities have a lot of events going on, you know? It kind of depends on the university, because I would say there are universities that are like known for having a lot of events, and then those, McGill, and then those who are kind of known for not doing a lot of things, University of Toronto. But if you enjoy going out, I just want to say, kind of try to find a balance between doing that and studying, because as I said last term, I was very confused, and so whenever someone invited me out, I was just like, oh yeah, and then in my mind I knew like I had this assignment in like 3 days, and I wanted to get research done, and then I would kind of just blow that off to go out. Or like 2 weeks in, I'd realize I haven't worked in like forever, so I'd just throw myself into work for a week and not see anyone. So I think what's really important, especially in the first term, it's hard to find a balance in between. Like some days you're gonna be like, oh, I wanted to study, but I want to go out, and that's okay. You know, I always said, like, my first term, I cut myself a lot of slack, and I think that's really important, because it's hard to balance everything. It really is. Like, you don't realize until you're actually doing it, and you kind of lose track of time. Furthermore, I just want to also say, a lot of universities have events. You are in no way obligated to go. Just because there are events doesn't mean you're expected to go or that you have to go. All of them are optional. And so you really, if you don't want to go out, don't. And that's really the biggest thing I can say, because I feel like a lot of people during their first term especially are like, ooh, I need to like go out and actually make friends, you know? I feel like that's such a thing, like it's become so like casual to like go out and drink to be friends with people, to actually make friends. And I feel like that's really not the case. There's I've met personally a lot of people who don't enjoy going out, you know, who would literally rather sit at home with a book or like watch Netflix. And the thing is, those people exist everywhere. If you are like that, you are not the only one at the university like that, or in your year, or like probably in between your friends. That's why, like, if you don't want to go out, find those people who also don't want to go out. And that's like a bonding thing where it's like, oh, y'all are going out, we're just gonna chill at home, and that's okay. Now going out, it feels so mandatory, and it's really not. But if you go out often, a lot of people first term, especially coming from, I would say, the US, like people who don't have a lot of experience with drinking, first term are like, oh, I'm gonna go so hard. And like, I can't tell you during like orientation how many people I saw like pass out, and how many people I heard like had to be taken home. And that's what I want to say. Like, if you're gonna go out, first of all, I would always recommend doing it with people you trust and that you're actually friends with. If something goes wrong, they're actually gonna take care of you. This also goes for like doing drugs. I just want to say, do that with friends, because if something goes wrong, obviously I hope it doesn't, but there's always chances that it goes wrong no matter what it is. If you do it with people you trust and who actually care about you, they will take care of you if something happens. And I feel like that's really important. Furthermore, if you're like going out, be careful for your wallets, be careful for your keys, watch your drink. Now, this has never happened to me, but I've heard it happen to people, not I think in Montreal, but of course this could happen literally anywhere to anyone. Will just spike your drink. So as I said, like, I wouldn't accept like a drink from someone I don't know, like that they just hand me. Like, if someone offers you a drink, or they're like, oh, let me buy you a drink, go to the bar with them, watch the bartender pour the drink, and then give it back to you, because it's a lot safer, and you really never know what can happen, and it would be such a shame. Like, it ruins your whole experience if something goes wrong, and then you don't want to do it again. It's just an all-around sucky experience. So just, if you're planning on going out often, just be careful, you know your limit. And I feel like the first term, a lot of people don't, because a lot of people aren't like accustomed to drinking. After those like first 2-3 times, know your limits, know when to cut yourself off, just because if you get completely wasted, like pass out wasted every time you go out, it's really not fun. Like, you wake up hungover, you wake up feeling like shit, it just sucks. You know, if you're gonna go out, just be careful, know your limit, don't pass it. So this is what I want to end the video with, and I feel like it's really important, and people don't realize this. You don't have to have all your shit together just because you're in university. It's really not a thing. Like, I got so stressed at the end of my first term, so like a few weeks ago, and during it, because I was like, shit, I don't know how to balance everything. And that's normal. Usually if you're in your first year, you're like what, 17, 18, or 19, years old, something like that. We're super young. It's a really young age. Even when I'm saying balance, it's not as if like it's an easy thing to do, it takes trial and practice. So the last piece of advice I really want to give is just remember, you don't have to have all your shit together. Like, it's okay if you're in the middle of the term or at the end of your term and you're like, oh shit, I really don't like this class, or like, oh, I really, you know what, I studied this, but I really want to change my major or my minor. In most universities, I believe there's an add drop period, which is up to 3 weeks, more or less. 2-3 weeks after the first day of classes, where basically you can try out your class, and if you don't like it, you can drop it and sign up for another one. If you're a U0 student, I would seriously recommend taking electives. I had to declare my major and minor going in, so I was just like, oh, I'm not gonna take any electives. And to be fair, I'm still not this term because I'm double minoring, but electives are so much fun, and you get to really experience like different types of things. So I would 100% recommend taking electives if you can. But as I was saying, you don't have to have everything together. Like, a lot of people feel bad, as I said, like including me, that they don't know how to do everything, and that's okay. Whether it's cooking, whether it's cleaning, whether it's like making friends, or it's like, oh, writing an essay even. Like, I switched into the English program after doing my whole education in French. When I wrote my first essay, I think I got a C, or I got like a B-, and then I asked for help every time, and I got better. I would also recommend your first year of university, your first term, first year, whatever you want to call it, kind of trying everything. So that includes courses, so like with electives, but that also means going out. Like, just because you did things a specific way in high school doesn't mean you have to do them the same way in university. Like, if you're used to like only going to bars and you're invited to a rave and you're like, ooh, I would recommend trying it. I went to a rave for the first time like 2 weeks ago or last week, and I'd always been scared to go, and I'd always been nervous, and I was like, oh, that's not really my thing. Turns out it is. Like, that's really something that I think is known by people, as in like, oh, university is there to try stuff, and it is, like, to be fair. It's true, but I just mean that you really should take advantage of that. Like, all of the events going on, the ones that interest you, the ones that you're kind of just like, oh, you know what, I might like that, recommend going to 100%. But I do, as well, as I said, like, recommend trying to find that balance as early as possible, because I'm barely finding it now. I'm barely like organizing myself with a planner and with a whole thing now. On a separate note, because the video is ending soon, let me know if you'd like to see a video on how basically I organized my stuff first term, kind of poorly, and now how I'm planning on doing it the second term, with like, that includes a planner, weekly study schedules, basically how I study as well. Let me know in the comments if you're interested. I think that's about it. So I hope you liked this video, and I hope it actually helped some people. Drop a like if it did, and if you'd be interested in seeing other videos where I basically talk and just ramble about stuff that I care about. Subscribe. If you have any like video suggestions as well, you can either tweet me at concertmuke, or you can follow me on Instagram, Ari Calomenos, Tumblr if you'd be interested. It's a multi-fandom account, but anyway, yeah. I hope you have a nice rest of the day. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you hopefully next week. Bye.